One Piece chapter 1152 just went crazy. We have to talk about it. We kind of have Gerd going off with some of the giants to handle some things. We start off with Chopper telling Luffy like he's gonna handle Scopper, and Luffy's like, I'll leave it to you. But the weird thing starts right now, because the only thing Scopper says to Luffy is, hey, Straw Hat, be mindful of the way you use Conqueror's Haki. Those guys are by no means immortal. If you're a fan of Luffy and the crew, you are jumping for joy, because that means we can beat these niggas. Luffy's like, all right, cool, you can count on me. And then we get some Loki stuff. Loki basically gets it clicking in his head, and for the people that were kind of unsure if Loki was a conqueror, that nigga is a conqueror. He's like, oh, you made it make sense to me, Scopper. I didn't know what my power was before, but now that I know, you can't leave me behind. I know I can beat that. Loki is begging his brother Hiruden, free me. And obviously Hiruden's like, no, why would I ever do that? You did a bunch of fucked up shit. But before we can even get that, we get another crazy ass moment where Scopper's like, there's another one in your group that has conquerors. And I think Oda's low-key pranking all of y'all niggas that are fans of Sanji. He has Sanji come up on some fangirl shit, telling him, is it me? Bro, it's not you. You're not a conqueror, at least not yet. While Sanji's out here just being glazed and stuff, I'm so happy. I thought Jimbei and Zoro had surpassed me. And actually thinking about it now, that's a crazy thing for Oda to put in, because Sanji saying that Jimbei had surpassed him, that's like some Oda reads Twitter ass comment. That's kind of nasty. Right after that, Scopper's like, swordsman, you haven't noticed that you have like the Haki inside of you? For some reason, he didn't remember that he had conquerors, which even Luffy, if Luffy is telling you, yo, you didn't realize that, then you really are not paying any type of attention. So we have this nice parallel that my little brother pointed out in this one panel right here, where we have Loki begging Hiruden, like, you're pathetic. Well, he's not begging, he's kind of more yelling. He's like, yo, you're pathetic. You rather sit back and let these nobodies save our homeland? Like, bro, this should be me and you. Y'all be like Loki and don't wild out and subscribe and hit that like button. While he's yelling that, Sanji's like, yo, old man, what about me? And it doesn't really tell us who says this last line, but it seems like it can apply to both of the people, Sanji and Loki, saying, I'm right here, use me. This is actually the perfect kind of segue, because we have Hiruden being like, bro, no, how do I know you don't side with the government? You might be an evil ass guy. I can't trust you after what you did on that day. Anyone who has read the chapters and is caught up with One Piece, we all kind of knew that the scene with Loki and how he killed his father, quote unquote, it's always been a little smelly, especially when Emu came in the series and all that. It's like, Loki to me never had the signs of an evil villain. We're going to see in this chapter what really happened. So, but Luffy tells him straight up like, yo, Loki, join my crew. And you guys can correct me in the comments down below, but I don't think that Luffy asks people to join his crew all the time. I'm gonna say at least like an 80% chance if he asks you to join his crew, you're going to join his crew. And the funny thing is, I think for the most part, everyone denies joining his crew at first. It's always like a, no, I would never do it, until you do it. For the Loki Straw Hat fans, if you guys exist, you know, there's that. But Luffy thinks he's big brain, because he's like, okay, well, if I add you to my crew, then Hiruden can't really complain if I free you, which that's not really how it works. Sanji's like, no, there's no food supplies. Zoro's like, bro, he can't even fit on our ship. I don't really know where I stand on it, to be honest, because he'd be an amazing addition to the crew, but I feel like he kind of throws off the power dynamic, one, and I think also his kind of character doesn't fit the Straw Hat group in the sense of subservientness. Even Zoro's pretty dominant, but Zoro will take the step back. We know Zoro will be the second in command for Luffy. I can't see Loki doing that. I think my favorite part about the whole Luffy-Loki thing is the fact that Luffy is trying to free him every chance he gets, and he always says like, it's okay, if he tries anything, I'll just beat him up. You've never fought him. I don't know why you think you could beat him off rip, but that's our Luffy. That's what he does. Loki's like, yo, don't mess with me. Again, Loki's a very dominant kind of character because he's not playing these games. Again, I don't think Loki would be an underling to anyone. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure Loki wanted to be under Rocks. Maybe he changed. Maybe Rocks giving him that ass whooping changed his mind. Maybe it's just Rocks is the only kind of pirate Loki would be subservient to, but the fact that he was willingly trying to be under Rocks when he was a kid, to me it kind of could show that someone like Luffy could command him. But that's not really important, because not only did Luffy say to free Loki, but now Scopper says it. Luffy's an idiot, so we'll let it by, but Scopper's not an idiot, so this shit is very important. And obviously everyone's like, why would we do that? First of all, he killed 113 members of the castle guard. Then he put Elder Ja Rule, shout out 50 Cent, on the brink of death, and then he killed his father with his own hands in cold blood. That nigga's crazy, like one of the worst of all time. So shout out Scopper, because he's the only nigga that's really thinking in this chapter, or at least on this side, because he's like, I know all that shit is true, but there was a weird energy that I sensed coming from that castle, and me and Shanks went to investigate. We might not know the whole story. Him and Shanks, which means 14 years ago, Scopper and Shanks were on Elbaf. Why the hell was that the case? I don't know. This is not even a thing that surprises me only. Like, this surprises Luffy, Hiruden, everyone. This finally brings Hiruden to his senses, and he's like, okay, Loki, you have 3 minutes to explain. Your last chance. Tell me everything that happened in the castle 14 years ago. Don't leave a single ounce of truth behind. Loki's like, yo, that's cruel, but I'm gonna break it down for you. You gotta pay a lot of attention. Loki and Ja Rule are summoned to the castle, and it's like, okay, well, it seems like it's a calm scene or whatever. Loki's like, we're in an age of peace, that's not good, you should be training the new generation and stuff. But Ja Rule's like, no, I'm happy for this generation of Elbaf soldiers to not actually be soldiers, just being civilian. So they're met by the guards and they said, thank you for covering Elder Ja Rule. Then they say, Loki ... Oh, I mean young master, it's a pleasure to have you back. Which I feel like Loki, to me, I caught that instantly. These guys might not be who they say they are. And we know the way Imu's powers work, there's a chance that they're either not herald soldiers or they're being possessed. They shouldn't call him Loki, they should call him young master, and they slipped up. And then it's very weird because the guy who messed up and called Loki by Loki instead of young master is like, oh, let me consult with the king. And Loki's like, nah, he summoned me and this is my home. He kicks him through the door. I think Loki could smell something was off about the situation because it seemed like the guy was stalling. He's trying to make sure that whatever's happening behind the door is happening. And the door kicks open and we see King Harold being stabbed by like 20 people. It's a lot of people, and we're gonna talk about this, but we don't really see Harold. We just see a shadow of him. He's being stabbed, and both Ja Rule and Loki are like, what the hell's going on? What are you guys doing? And before we get even time to process it, we see Shanks and we see Scopper Gabban. It's all cool. They're talking about when was the last time we shared a bath? It's been what, 3, 4, a couple years ago. That's what Scopper says. And Shanks is like, no, get real, bro. It's been like 10 years since the captain died. That must feel like forever ago to you. One thing that the One Piece community is talking about is the fact that time in Elbaf kind of moves differently. It was stated that you shouldn't stay in Elbaf for too long because if you do, you won't come back. Scopper's not an idiot. Why did Scopper Gabban think it was 3 or 4 years? And it's been easily a decade. Also, the fact that Scopper Gabban right after that says, that must feel like forever ago to you. Why is he talking as if that time isn't affecting him as well? But that is not the most important part of this panel. If you look at Shanks' arm, he has the abyss, or I guess it's called the void mark, which is what we've seen from all the people who are under Imu's control. Shanks beat the case and he got another life sentence because I ain't gonna lie, he's looking like a rat right now. It's not good for the Shanks PR. The crazy part is it's on his left arm, which makes you just think about a bunch of memories. Shanks told Whitebeard, I bet this on the new generation. Maybe it was a power up that he had that he gave up. I don't know. But the point is, he has definitely been a Marijois a lot more than one time, which is almost confirmed because Shanks is like, yeah, life's completely changed. I wanted to be a carefree pirate with Buggy. Right after that, Scopper's like, I understand you were a child of destiny, but let's not dwell on tricky topics today. He brings up the little garden, which is where they met Dory and Bragi. Again, another crazy thing in this chapter, because who is the child of destiny? Is that something related to the fact that he's related to Figarland Garland? I guess my other question is, what makes quote unquote child of destiny? What makes that a tricky topic? What makes that weird? Before we can get all the juicy details of that about that stuff, we have Ripley just jump in and interrupt the conversation. Shanks is talking about how cool a human giant household is and stuff. And then after that, Ripley's like, yo, Shanks, can you tell me some stories about Scopper? I want to hear some stories about him. And obviously it's funny because I think Shanks was going to tell him about how Scopper was low-key a whore. I'm not going to lie. He was going to tell him how they went to a port and there was a bunch of how many and he gets stopped. Scopper's like, bro, if you want to leave this place alive, you going to be quiet. Scopper's like, yo, do you know Harold? He's the king of Elbaf. They treat him like a god. Shanks responds with, yeah, I met him at Marijois. We got along all right. Can anyone explain to me why the hell Shanks was at Marijois? Can anyone do that for real? Because he should not be there, right? He's a pirate. And we know that he went to Marijois at least one time, right? That was kind of said by Shamrock. I think a lot of people assume that he went after Roger died, he denounced them and left. You're gonna tell me that he just met Harold on an off chance at Marijois? Come on, bro. He's been there multiple times. And if that's the case, Shanks might have been Imu's pawn for a long time. He still might be low-key, unless maybe getting rid of his arm gets rid of the contract. We don't know. Back to what we're talking about. He's talking to Scopper and he's like, yeah, we couldn't really speak freely in the Holy Land, but now that we're both in this country, I really want to talk to him before it's too late. That tells me that there's a chance Shanks wasn't completely on Imu's side, if he was at all. Maybe Shanks was just there vibing for whatever reason. He was like a double agent or something. He wanted to ask Harold questions that he could not ask because of where they were at. But now they're both in Elbaf, he's going to try to ask him now. But obviously we know Harold is currently dying, so there's no time. Right after that, we go to where Harold's supposed to be, and it's a bunch of Haki. And now that we're seeing the flashback, we know for a fact that Loki's not the one who kills Harold. He walks in on it happening. So that's not Loki's Haki. It's probably Imu or someone related to that. The panel says Harold the Benevolent lost his life. It seems like 3 crazy situations happen at one time. So one, the gate gets locked. We don't know who, we don't know how, but the gate gets locked. One of the random guards is like, yo, who closed the gate? Who locked it? We're trying to get out of here. And he's knocking on the door. And while that happens, the next scene is literally a sword stabbing Ja Rule in the head. And the thing we have to point out that is really, really important is that there's no hand holding the sword. Maybe the person threw it, but the way it looks like it's just there. And then right after that, the next like quarter of a panel is like a lock opening. And it just says, this is the forbidden devil fruit passed down within Elbaf. The story is kind of told like Loki killed all the people for the fruit, but that's not the case. If someone set up Loki and Ja Rule, why did did they let Loki get the fruit? You don't gain anything in giving Loki that ability. It just kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. When Harold gets stabbed, we don't see his body. That's super important because I think if we got to see his body, we would get a lot more information. We know that characters that are affected by the emu equipped, people who are affected by that, they look different. We can tell. It's a very easy thing to tell. And then we're going to touch on this final flashback. We get a flashback which is 109 years ago. This is probably one of the older flashbacks we've gotten, at least in a long time. And it's about King Harold when he was a young nigga. He's not even king yet, I don't think. If you asked anyone what the scariest thing on the sea is, the answer would always be the same: the giant warrior pirate. He's looking inside of a building and he's like, I heard there's a beautiful princess in the castle. Let's have a peek. The text box is saying, in this age, the land of the giants, just their ships evoked crazy fear because of Elbaf's reputation. And this man was one of the reasons for said reputation. King Harold. And just then, this nigga kicks the fucking building in like a dickhead. The narrator tells us straight up that this nigga was a terrible person. They say he was pure scum. The Harold that is described in the story is nothing like the Harold that anyone else in Elbaf has spoken about. They said he's a kind king. He's nothing like Loki. He doesn't do any of these things. So it's like, why did Harold at just age 15 start out as a dickhead and end up to how he is? That doesn't make any sense. So that leads me to two theories. One, Harold mellowed with age, which that shit kind of cap. But more importantly, I think that Emu had something to do with it. A lot of people have been theorizing that Emu's ability can not just make you evil, but kind of flip your morality, which would mean that Harold being a loose cannon, he go from that to a person that is very subservient. That way he could weaken the Elbaf giants and have them all be kind of soft. And then when the time was right, kill him. We're gonna get a Harold flashback, so I'm looking forward to that. Crazy enough, it has been 109 years in this flashback. That's how far we went back. I kind of want to see a Dr. Kureha flashback, or see her in the flashback somewhere. That would be really cool. One thing that I actually forgotten before I end this video is Shanks' hat. Every time we get to see a straw hat wearer in their era with the straw hat, we always get it shown. It's either on their head, their back, or with them. So can someone explain to me why Shanks didn't have a straw hat at all? Like, where the hell was that thing? Oda did not have to show us that void mark. That was like one of the things we didn't have to see. There was no reason for us to see it. It's very clear that Oda deliberately showed us that mark and not the straw hat. He also showed us the scar, so we can't even say that it's Shamrock. There's no Shamrock pretending this time. We can't get out of this, Shanks fans. It's up. Not only did I not see Shanks' hat, but we see Scopper's hat. Scopper, who's only had this hat since he's been in Elbaf. There is no way Oda remembered to draw Scopper's hat and forgot Shanks' hat. Thinking about the chapter now with giving it some more thought, to me at least, it's pretty obvious that Harold knew this was happening. I think Harold knew that he was going to be betrayed by Emu and his guards in some way. Because the question is, who the hell called Ja Rule and Loki? It wasn't the guards, because the guards were like, oh, well, let's check up with Harold real quick. Loki was the one who was like, nah, he barged in. It seems like it had to be Harold. Emu straight up says, Harold betrayed us. This shit sucks. They don't have a king anymore. If Harold got completely, utterly fooled, how was that a betrayal? That means Emu's plan worked. What if Harold knew he was gonna die soon? He wanted Loki to find out and see it, because Loki would be the only person who could actually fight against this threat. And if Loki was anyone else but Loki, he wouldn't have barged in. Loki is the kind of guy that's like, no, nigga, this is my home. I mean, he says it like, this is my home. Harold called me. That's my pops. I'm pulling up. What the fuck is happening? And because of that, he saw what happened. And also the fact that Luffy is a great judge of characters we always talk about. Luffy's always trusted Loki from the beginning, since the moment he saw him. People have been talking about this forever, but the way they describe Loki and the way they describe Zoro is the exact same way. So that, to me, means this man Loki is trustworthy. The way Scopper even talked about Loki was kind of like, they say he's really strong. It's not even like he's afraid. When Emu pulled up, Scopper was on timing. He was serious. Loki ain't really caused that kind of reaction out of Scopper. Whatever the plan that Emu had, I think it was slightly thwarted by Harold. Right now, bro, it's looking like Emu's had his fingertips on Elbaf for a long time, but we're gonna figure all this stuff and more. If you want to see some more stuff about that, or maybe you're interested in, I don't know, Gunko, for instance, click this video right here. But that's it, so peace.